September the 19th meeting of the Union County Land Use Board. And we have, first of all, we're going to have a moment of reflection, and we're going to ask Mr. Dion to pray.
Dear Lord, thanks for this day. Thank you for your blessings. Lord, please be with us and be with us and consider these issues. Lord, give us guidance and wisdom to make decisions best for the community. Thank you. Jesus, I pray.
All right, we're going to pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Britt, you need to be sworn in, so we're going to have. Who wants to?
You can just read
Well,
that for me.
Miss Amy, you handle that.
Larry, we'll just read the form.
Good, I sign this.
No, read it out loud.
Read it out loud.
Okay.
And put your hand on the Bible and raise your hand. There you go. Read it out loud. What's on that?
Oh,
That's hard work.
I, Lawrence Britt, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the Constitution and the laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and I shall faithfully discharge all duties of my office as a member of the Union County Land Use Board, so help me God. I, Lawrence Britt, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to all constitutional powers and authorities which are already established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support and maintain and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I will
decision. This is usually done following the close of the meeting. However, the board has up to 30 days to render a decision. You may remain present during the deliberations, or you may call the Union County Planning Department after the session to receive the decision of the board. All exhibits must be remain with the board. Please hand those to Ms. Griffin, who's our clerk, for tagging. If you feel there's a conflict of interest of any board member, please make that known immediately before we even move forward. We are a quasi-judicial board and can accept only sworn testimony for this case. No hearsay evidence will be admissible. Appeal from this board is to the Union County Superior Court. You have 30 days from the date of our meeting and, from the date of the board's written decision to appeal in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 1608-3886. Please turn off all your cell phones. We do have a quorum, so that's all I think I need to say. We will look now to the case, which is, it's all new to me, but it used to be a lot simpler. Well, they changed everything up on the, Joe. Okay. The Cello Partnership doing business at Verizon Wireless, 195 wireless support structure. Jim, is the application, but yes. So we need to vote now, I believe, to open the public hearing. All in favor to hear the petition, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. King, come up and you can be sworn. Do you swear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. King, please tell us what's going on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is case number 2023, SUP 04, special use request for 195-foot wireless support structure. At this time, I'd like to enter into evidence as Exhibit 1, the Union County Development Ordinance, and as Exhibit number 2, the agenda package for this case.
And that's the, we have that, right?
Yes.
Everybody under, I think, item number 1, which should be the, I'm correct, that was number 2.
Yes, the agenda package is
The,
Exhibit 2.
Exhibit 2 is our item 1.
That is correct.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so the property is located off of Highway Mine Road, behind 6621 Highway Mine Church Road, more specifically identified by parcel number 06-108-004. The applicant is Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, and the owner of the property is Harry H. and Judy F. Williams. In the application, there was a consent form from Verizon for them to act on their behalf, and also consent form from the property owner to request a special use permit. The applicants are requesting the approval of a special use permit for the construction operation of a 195-foot wireless support structure. Property is zoned R40. The proposed site plan is in conformity with the Union County Development Ordinance. I do want to point out that this would be the first cell tower coming for a special use permit since we had a text amendment. The text amendment now requires that all cell towers have, for every foot in height, have a foot of setback. So in this case, if you have a 195-foot tall wireless support structure, it's got to have a setback of 195 foot off the property line. In addition to that, for the R40 zoning, or anything that's zoned, any property zoned R, residential, not RA, residential agricultural. There's an additional, well, there's a 300-foot buffer. And the applicant, which I'll show in a couple of slides down, demonstrates that they do meet that 300-foot buffer, which is in excess of the required setback. This right here are street view pictures. First one to your left is looking straight on from the street. The site is actually behind the tree line that you see on the other side of the pasture there. And then the picture on the right is to the south, and it's actually over the tree line on the left side of that picture is where the site is located. This right here is an aerial view of the site. The actual site itself is in this general location. They are outside of the 100-year floodplain, so they do meet that requirement there as far as their site location. This right here is the site plan. You can see this line right here depicts the 100-year floodplain. You can see the site is clearly outside of that. They may have the circle right here is showing their 100-foot engineered file radius, which is not applicable to this case because our setback requirements are greater than the engineered file.
Can you back up to slide 7?
To slide 7.
Is the dark blue on that the 100-year floodplain?
So this blue right here is the 100-year floodplain. This is your floodway, and the yellow is your 500-year floodplain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If you look at it real closely, and I'll lift my glasses over there. Oh, I'm sorry. Bjorn.
His glasses were on his head. This happens.
Well, you wouldn't believe how many times I actually go, I can't find my glasses.
You have no idea.
So,
I walk to my office door sometimes and click my card clicker and it won't open, so, yeah, I hear you, brother.
well, that's all right. My wife told my daughter on Sunday, she goes, well, hold on one second, I'll be right back. I got to put my raincoat in the refrigerator.
It's okay, thank you.
So going back to our presentation here, I apologize.
It's okay.
If you look right there, they're showing the distances. So to the south property line is 322 feet. To the eastern property line is 344 foot. To the western property line, 735, and then to the northern property line, it's 510. So they do meet that 300-foot buffer in all directions. This picture right here is a blow-up of the compound, just so that you can familiarize yourself with it. They do have proposed locations for other equipment shelters as other antennas are put on the tower. The crosshatched area is the landscaping around the actual compound, which is in compliance with the ordinance requirements. And then this is our landscape plan, showing the plantings in that 10-foot landscape easement surrounding the compound. The property is zoned R40. The surrounding property to the east and to the south is R40 as well. And then to the north and to the west of the property is actually in Waxhaw's jurisdiction.
Yeah, you'll back up a couple. Is this guy wired or is it a?
It's going to be, it's going to be a monopole, no guide wire.
Okay.
The development status, this is vacant land out there. So it's undeveloped. Environmental features, as discussed before, it's got 100-year and 500-year floodplain on it, but they're outside of the 100 years, which we regulate. We don't allow very little development, such as parks and stuff like that, in the 100-year floodplain. Land use plan calls for this to be single-family residential. And then the transportation plan calls for no improvements to Howie Mine Church Road. So staff's recommendations would be that it must comply with all local, state, and federal regulations, must comply with the Union County Development Ordinance, North Carolina Building Code, must fully comply with the site-specific plan, and must have S2 screen around the perimeter of the compound. Existing mature vegetation around the compound could be used to meet this requirement as well. With that, that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have of me, and the applicant is here to present his case as well.
Any questions for Mr. King?
I have one question, Jim, does it have an emergency generator?
That I am not sure. I'll have to let the applicant speak to that.
Anything else, Jeff?
Does it have, road?
There is a road going out to it. Let me go back to the slide that. There is an easement right here that goes back and over to the site. So what they have is they have a leasable area here and then an easement that goes back to it.
Any other questions for Jim? All right, hearing none, we have one individual who asked to speak, so I'm gonna call him up. I don't know if he's in favor or opposed, but we'll go ahead and call him up. Harry Williams.
Well, I'm in favor.
Huh?
I'm in favor.
Okay, you're on the list to speak, so, that's gonna be the next thing I'm gonna do. Is those who are in favor, we're gonna call you up to, do what? Yeah, we're gonna call you up and swear y'all in. Everybody who wants to speak in favor, I didn't know where Mr. Williams was, so I wanna make sure that we called on him first, but if you wanna speak in favor, please come forward and be sworn in.
Yeah, there's one on there.
There's another Bible.
And you do have to fill out that little form that Ms. Griffin will make sure that you fill out, or you will not be allowed to leave the building, under penalty of law. All right, everybody ready? You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Thank you, gentlemen, and please fill that form out, and you may now, whoever's going to speak first. I don't know who's the leader of this group, but
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Ralph Weingarten from Falk and Foster, 678 Front Avenue Northwest, Suite 255 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49504. Yeah, that was long.
Or do you really live there?
I live there, yep, I live there. And I'm not dressed as fancy as I usually would be because I got a rental car from Avis at the Charlotte airport, but it had low tire pressure, so I switched cars, but guess what? I left my suitcase in the back seat,
Well,
so
there you go. You
have to
look
figure
fine.
that out later on.
We're all cool. So,
And I'm here on behalf of special use permit applicant Celco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless. Also with me here tonight are certified appraiser Michael Berkowitz from MVP Real Estate, who conducted the impact study included in the agenda packet, and he'll be testifying on that. Also professional engineer Greg Van Maren with Kimley Horn. That's the architectural and engineering firm that did the drawings and also conducted the photo simulations and drone views that are in the agenda packet. Also with me is site acquisition agent David Best from Chase Real Estate Services, who did the location and leasing of the site. And he also happens to be a neighbor to this site, one of the subdivisions right to the west-northwest, so he's looking forward to better service. And then last but not least, landowner Harry Williams is here tonight as well. Mr. King did a great job thoroughly going through there, so I'll try not to rehash the things that he went over. Let me look here. Is the agenda packet on this thing too? Do you know? Maybe a different folder.
this way. Sorry about this.
Oh, no problem.
You got an eye drop?
I can do that too. Wait.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so here you go. You can click on this because this has got all the different documents that
Oh, okay.
you had submitted to us.
Okay,
And
thank
this
you.
is where the agenda came from too as well.
All right, appreciate it. The agenda packet that Mr. King entered into the record contains all of the exhibits that we submitted and will be relying on tonight, so I don't have anything new to add or introduce into evidence beyond that agenda packet. Let me see here. All right, just wanted to pull up this this kind of has an overlay of the measurements and area that was highlighted earlier. And I just wanted to point out too, if you look at the 322-foot 1 inch to the south, that's actually the property line by the line of trees that was visible beyond the pasture land. And it's still quite a ways yet, maybe an additional 500 feet to Howie Mine Road. So this is setting way back from the road, kind of nestled back in that corner of the property. Also, I wanted to highlight an elevation view. This is the kind of a profile of the monopole. Verizon Wireless is proposing antenna center line of 190 feet. The pole itself is 195 with a 4-foot lightning rod. And then there is space for 3 additional future providers on the monopole, so both space on the tower and ground space as well. Within the packet, we presented an ordinance compliance statement, and I won't go through here in detail, but we did highlight how we meet the requirements of both sections of the ordinance that dealt with wireless facilities and support structures, sections 30.150 and 30.190. So just walking through, again, it will support a total of 4 telecommunication providers in compliance with 30.150D. The aviation obstruction, marking or lighting will not be required. Generally, that's only required over 200 feet, so it's going to be a dark site at night, no flashing light. Compound is 60 by 60. It'll be enclosed by an 8-foot chain link fence, and then as was shown, it'll have that landscaping around the outside as well. In addition to that, there'll be that line of trees in the foreground that you saw along the property line on the other side of the pasture as well. Let's see here. I think that kind of covers, and then the general findings that you guys require for a special use permit in terms of compliance with all regulations and standards that are generally applicable in the zoning district and then specifically applicable to this use. We've presented this ordinance compliance statement and all the attachments to address compliance with that. Also, you guys need to consider if the proposed development would materially endanger public health or safety. In this case, it's located on a large vacant parcel that's distant from any property lines or structures. And actually, the wireless service provided will actually enhance public health and safety. It'll support calls in the event of accidents, crimes, health emergencies. It'll support Amber Alerts and weather alerts. So we think there'll be a net benefit to the community in terms of health and safety. The next criteria, whether the proposed development will substantially injure the value of abutting property. I'm going to leave that to testimony by Mr. Berkowitz in just a moment. But he has submitted an impact study, which is included in the packet, which does conclude that there will be no substantial injury to abutting properties, but he will testify as the expert for that. The fourth criteria is whether the proposed development will be in harmony with the area where it's located. Again, it's a large parcel and distant from property lines. We've made use of kind of the existing tree cover to tuck it back in there, and then supplemented that with landscaping in the areas where there wasn't a lot of tree cover. We've presented some photo simulations from surrounding vantage points, and I'll just open that a second here. You can see on this shot the different vantage points where views were taken from. The first one again is looking north, and there's kind of that preliminary lower line of trees, and the tower's behind that, but in front of the taller back line of trees. That back line of trees is along the creek back there, and it kind of serves as a buffer to the subdivision neighborhoods to the north. There's a view with the tower in place. Actually, that one looks like it's not being shown behind the trees in front, but it actually should have the trees obscuring the lower part of the pole. This is a view from one of the subdivisions to the north, looking to the south towards there. And the trees, there's a lot of mature trees in this area, so the views for most residences and subdivisions, the trees will screen. It's far enough away where it will kind of be covered by the trees. So these are all different views from the different subdivisions, cul-de-sacs to the north of the site. And it's not visible in any of these views. And then we also had a drone that we elevated up to the height of the tower and kind of looked in all directions to see what was around. And these are the various drone views, looking to the southwest, looking to the west, looking to the northwest. You can see some of the homes kind of tucked in the trees there. Looking north, looking northeast, looking east, looking southeast, and looking south. So that kind of gives you a little idea of the immediate character of the area surrounding it. Okay. So we meet the ordinance requirements for the general special use, and we meet the ordinance requirements specific to wireless structures and facilities. So we would respectfully ask for your approval of this special use permit. At this stage, I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have or that the public might have at the appropriate time. I'd also like to open it up to testimony by Mr. Berkowitz regarding his impact study. And then if you have any questions of he or I or the engineer or anyone else on our team, we'd be happy to entertain those. Thank you.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Is there anything at all that makes the tower an undesirable neighbor? You know, noise, radiation, anything like that?
No, that's the short answer. I think most people in this area, it's an area under stress in terms of cell service, and so most people are probably looking for it. Anecdotally, nowadays you hear when people go to buy a house, it's less about seeing a tower in the distance and more about what's my signal like here. So I do think most surrounding neighbors will welcome the service, and it's far enough away and kind of couched in an area where it mitigates the annoyance that it causes.
Just out of curiosity, what's the range of one tower?
It varies. It works on a line of sight and usually fills in kind of a gap between existing sites. So the core area can be, out a couple miles or so, and then it gives away as you go further out. And you really want to position the tower so that as you get far enough away from one, the signal increases from the next tower in line, and so it hands you off from one tower to the other. So the goal is to kind of just add on to the network and fill in gaps and extend the holes that are there. So this site will build on to what's already there.
So this is for the fill in a hole?
It's for rural coverage, yeah.
Glad you're not making it look like a palm tree.
I saw one of those driving from Charlotte when you're on the south belt there, yeah.
We've actually been there before, and I would say for those of us who've been around a while, this is not our first rodeo. And we've seen many of these come through us, and it's interesting how they work and how, obviously, you represent a company that's going to build a tower, and I think Verizon is going to be on top, but there's other options.
Yep, yep.
And so AT&T or whoever can come below them and hook on them. That's
Yeah.
how it works. It's very interesting how this thing works. I mean, we've been down that rodeo many times. And as people get rid of their landlines, I don't have a landline in my house. That's very common nowadays. Everybody has their cell phone,
Yep.
that's what they use, and I forgot everybody's phone number, because it's programmed in, and it's like.
Yep.
I
And
saw-
people forgetting where they're going because they got the map
I saw a
feature.
meme recently, it's like, what happens to part of my brain that used to know everybody's phone number? 'Cause I don't even know my wife's cell phone number. That's kind of sad, don't feel like I said that. Hope she's not listening, but anyway, but that's where we are, but yeah. We've seen so many of you guys come through, and Union County's obviously growing, and, so, thank you for filling in those holes.
Right.
Anything else for him, or?
I do have a question. I know this is involving bridge to, use, so does this have a, generator?
Oh, good question. I was going to address that from the previous question, and I forgot, but yes, it does. It's, let me show you the, it's on C3. Yeah, if you look at this, there's Verizon's equipment, and then south of that is a proposed 50 kilowatt diesel generator. So that's in the site plans that are part of the agenda packet.
Question so this has a 300-foot range buffer, basically.
Correct.
So once if this is approved, then moving forward, nothing can go in that space.
That's right. They would not, the only thing that could go into that 300-foot buffer would be if the property owner wanted to put their own personal house within that area.
And this is a monopole designed to
Yep.
collapse itself, right?
Well, it's got an engineered fall radius of 100 foot. However, our ordinance requires a 1-to-1 for the required setback.
It's not one of like,
Correct,
based on the engineering, right?
correct, yep.
It's not just gonna go.
But we have to provide the space as if it would do that,
Right.
even though it's designed
Yeah, but
stronger than that, yeah.
it should not do that, right?
Correct.
All right, anything else for this gentleman? If not, Mr. Berkowitz, I think we need to hear from you. Talk to him about your impact.
Good evening. My name is Michael Berkowitz. My address is 1100 Sundance Drive, Concord, North Carolina. It's good to be back. I've testified many times in front of this board over the years. I was asked to provide an impact study of the proposed tower in accordance with your ordinance. Based upon what I have done, and in fact, I will let you guys know that the example that I have with the tower on Providence Road is one of the best empirical evidence with regards to the impact of a cell tower. And in fact, that one's 250 feet with a light on top.
That's not the time, right?
No, sir. In the report, you'll see it's right at the end of a cul-de-sac. And you literally see probably 150 feet of this tower from some of the houses in that neighborhood. And when you compare it to other houses in the neighborhood that can't see the tower, there's no evidence, no empirical evidence to support diminution in value. The most interesting thing about this case is that all the properties to the north are floodplain and floodway, as well as their dedicated open space to create a buffer for the subdivisions to the north. And in fact, they're further away than the tower examples that I've done because of that expansive buffer. So based upon that criteria, it's my conclusion that the tower as proposed will not adversely impact any of the adjacent or abutting properties. Further, if you know the development patterns along Providence Road, I don't see that cell tower having an impact on development patterns in the normal course of business. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else want to speak in favor of the proposed cell tower? Yes, sir. I believe you are
Harry Williams.
right?
Yes,
How are you, sir?
fine. I've owned the land they want to put the tower on for about 50 years. It's,
You bought it when you was 25, no, 17?
I'm 82, I'm 82. It's a 24-acre tract. It's got 10 acres of open land. The rest is in woods. We farm the open land we have for years and years. I feel like if you're gonna put a tower somewhere, it couldn't be any more of an ideal space. The trees between the tower and 12 Mile Creek, which borders on our property, are almost as tall as the tower. Our road is a dead-end road. We live right at the end of the road. We've got about 22 homes on that road, and I have not had one person come to me and say they weren't in favor of it. I did have one gentleman who'd been trying to buy that property for a long time from me, and he was the only one that had a little negative attitude about it. And I said, well, let me tell you this, I'm 82. You've been trying to get me to sell you that property for years. So if I sell it to you, you're going to own the tower. He said, oh, that's wonderful. So I think that's about it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Williams? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being a good citizen of Union County. Anyone else? Okay, sir. And your name?
My name is David Best, and I just wanted to go on the record. This is a rare opportunity for me. I did the site acquisition work for placing the tower, but I also happen to live about 1,100 feet as a crow flies from the property. No, it doesn't. So I don't know if you would call that me having standing or not, but it's pretty close. So I wanted to go on the record. I wanted to give you a little bit of context on how we landed in the spot. The landowner was generous enough to be pretty flexible for where we place it. So we wanted to take advantage of tucking it into the trees and to get as close to the floodplain and that little pocket that we could. And then we also were trying to take advantage of the fact that from the road, there's that row of trees in the front, so that we had a natural buffer. So it kind of worked out, and from a personal standpoint, me owning the house nearby, in case neighbors did have an issue, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any, it wasn't sticking out like a sore thumb. I haven't had any complaints from neighbors as well, and as far as that person is concerned, me owning that property, it couldn't come up fast enough because I can't get good signal at the back of my house. So I'll go on record and say that I'm in favor.
All right.
So.
Any questions? All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone want to speak against this motion? And Mr. King, all the adjacent landowners were notified?
Yes, sir.
So nobody's here? So that's great. We just didn't know that, right? So, all right. That being said, is there any other questions anybody needs to have before we close the hearing? Anybody want to ask a question? Because we'll close it. No more questions. All right. All right. So I will close the public hearing, and then we will move forward to the voting. So proposed use and development comply with the regulations and standards generally applicable within the zoning district and specifically applicable to the particular type of special use. Board, tell me what you know.
I like what they have on.
I agree with what they presented as well. You want to add to it or subtract from it? No. Everybody on the same page, it's page 3 of their, page 3. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Number 2, the proposed development. We have to read that in the record or?
It would probably be best.
Oh, I have to do that or can I let Mark do it?
You can let Mark do it.
Mark, go ahead.
The proposed use and development will comply. A statement of ordinance compliance and supporting documents have been provided demonstrating compliance with general regulations as well as the specific regulations for wireless facilities and support structures in section 30.150 and 30.190.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll be reading the last night. Number 2. Question number 2. The proposed development will not materially endanger the public health or the safety.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The proposed support structure will, well, I think that should say not in danger.
If you're right.
Not endanger health and safety. It will be located on a large vacant parcel distant from any property lines or structures. The wireless service provided will actually enhance public health and safety by supporting calls in the event of accident, crime, fire, or health emergency, and will support Amber Alerts, weather alerts, and other emergency information.
I like that. You did a good job. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Number 3, the proposed development will not substantially injure the value of the abutting property or is a public necessity.
The project is a public necessity. North Carolina General Statute 160D-930A indicates that it is the goal of the state to ensure the ready availability and reliability of wireless service to the public, government agencies, first responders, with the intention of furthering the public safety and general welfare. Furthermore, an impact study from a certified appraiser has been provided, which concludes the project will not significantly injure the value of abutting properties.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 4, the proposed development will be in harmony with the area in which it is located.
Site placement is on a large parcel distant from property lines and makes use of existing tree cover to screen the base of the tower and the ground equipment from view, and the proposed monopole height of 195 foot. No obstruction lighting is required by FAA. Daytime view from surrounding vantage points is shown in the photo simulations provided. Drone views in all directions are also provided as a passive, unstaffed use. The site will not generate any significant traffic or other burden to surrounding uses.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Number 5, the proposed development will be in general conformity with the comprehensive plan.
Union County 2050 Comprehensive Plan does not specifically address wireless support structures, but does call for adequate infrastructure necessary to support planned growth and emergency management. The broadband internet strategy recognizes that high-speed internet is an essential utility service for working from home, distance learning, agribusiness operations. This proposed site will support high-speed internet from Verizon Wireless and from other future providers that co-locate.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to,
Wait a minute, number six.
there's no-
Number six. Exactly where are you gonna put the other 6 towers in the rural areas that don't have coverage now?
I thought you added one on. Union County added a 6th, I don't think so. Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve or deny?
Can I ask we keep talking about trees, do the trees degrade the signal? Yes.
Well,
Depends on their height.
that's, yeah, that's the
We
question
keep
that
talking
should have
about
been.
trees being around it, so we're,
Well,
That's why it's 195.
At 195.
At this point, we can't.
you're 195 feet.
Hearing's closed, but once the hearing's closed, once we vote, you can ask that question. But right now,
I'm done.
it's just like, that's a good question, and I'm sure this gentleman will answer that once we're done. We're gonna take a break. So, do I have a motion to approve or deny? Motion to?
Well, can I, wait a minute, can I
Oh,
add to it?
well, I mean, you have a motion to approve, and you,
And I want to say that we approve with staff recommendations.
okay, so you okay with that? Okay, so we have an amended, motion to approve with staff, recommendation. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries as amended with the staff recommendations. Okay, at this point, we will take a 5-minute break, and we will move to the next item. And Bjorn, you will be up. Go get your workout, buddy. You're gonna be in trouble. Hey, go ahead and ask a question. Start. Help me with the tree.
Oh, well, I'm not an RF engineer, but in fact, even somewhere down east in Anson County, the loblolly pines, the pine needle was the exact size of the frequency. And they had huge problems with it, you know, so, but it can't obstruct it, but most of the times it penetrates, but it's really odd.
And as a hammer radio operator, the chloroform in the leaves will eat up the RF, so you get better signal when you don't have leaves on the tree than when you do.
Those pine needles have a lot more water in them too, so that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's fine.
Cool little,
Could you?
not really. Thumb drives. It's probably one of mine, Mount McDonald. That was a consulting firm that we had one for. That's probably dried out. Maybe, maybe not. Where's the top for it?
Get it now? You don't wanna stay, sure?
Whose thumb drive is this? Is this yours, Jim?
No, it was in there when I came up.
Oh, it's from yesterday.
The other guy was just yours?
No, I think it was from last night, honestly. See you, Kelly. Really? Huh. All right, I'm taking that thumb drive back. Maybe it was mine.
Whose is it?
I think it was mine from like a previous meeting. Not last night, but like meetings ago. So now I'll take it. Here's a question, Lee. I feel like
Just so you know, we're still.
I didn't leave.
Annualized,
I did not leave.
paying extra money for?
For us to get done by 7.
Oh, I'm in people to get it.
You going?
Mine
You
don't,
wanna go on my team, right, Beth?
mine don't take long.
I don't think. So, yes, we're gonna get there. That's not a problem. This, the planning board part's easy. I don't mean to be rude, but that's all I had to do last, how many years? I've been like, a lot happier. Yes, I know we're still on TV, so those who serve on the planning board, God bless them. But that's the easy part compared to what the, had to do. Anyway, so. Wait, Mr. Kelly, we'll be right back. Oh, Mr. King, you decided to come back? Yeah. I heard you left. No. We're all getting a bonus if we leave by 7. Please don't pay us.
That's on this man's shoulder right here.
It's all on me on. All right, we're back in session. Mr. Bjorn, talk to us about your text amendment 2023-001, transportation plan amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Land Use Board. This is a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance that was identified by staff. It didn't come from Board of Commissioners, didn't come from the public. It's something that we identified. And what it is a proposal to swap out the plans that we reference when we make recommendations or requirements for sidewalks as a part of new developments. Anything above a minor subdivision is required to put in sidewalks along the frontage of the properties as a part of their development standards. Now, we don't require it in front of all projects. It depends on what the plan recommendations are. So our current plan is nearly a decade old. It was the Union County Multimodal Transportation Plan. It was a very exhaustive, thorough process. Came up with a very thick plan, very expensive plan. But it's nearly a decade old, and since that time, the DOT has evolved in terms of where you're pulling your recommendations from and what that means in terms of will they respect it? Will they make you pay money as a proportional share of that project to get those sidewalks or other type of improvements as a part of a road widening project? I'll bring up Providence Road as an example. About 6 years ago, DOT said, we're going to widen Providence Road all the way to Waxhaw, Union County, Weddington, Marvin, Waxhaw. What do you want on the sides of the road in terms of multimodal considerations? Wide outside lanes, bicycle lanes, sidewalks, multipurpose paths, what do you want? And it took us 6 months to come up with an answer because everyone was talking about what their plans referenced, but also the cost implications, because there's a proportional share. Bigger jurisdictions like the Charlottes of the world have to pay a higher percent share of the cost. Smaller jurisdictions like, say, Mineral Springs would pay a much lower percent share. The county cost was about $150,000. Since that time, they have evolved, and now in that same situation, in fact, that policy is applying to us now. We don't have to pay any local share. It's included in the project, but only because those improvements along Providence Road come from the comprehensive transportation plan. If we were to come up with our local plan, they came up with stuff that was beyond what the comprehensive transportation plan said, that change would be our responsibility. So we're trying to make it consistent so that when we make recommendations for DOT projects, that they come from a plan that they recognize. Also, you have all these jurisdictions in the county that each have their own transportation plans. And it's really hard when we have projects that are up against their borders of referencing our plans that may not line up with their plans. And we just can't keep up with them. At any one time, at least one of the jurisdictions is updating some component of their bicycle or pedestrian plans, and we can't keep up with it. But if they all put their recommendations and updates into the comprehensive transportation plan, and we parallel those recommendations, if we agree with them, then we all speak from the same document, and that makes life a lot easier. Also, it's a living document. It gets updated periodically. It's housed within the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. We don't have to deal with maintaining it. We just give our updates. And that's really the observation of why we're making this recommendation. In terms of what it looks like, the one with the nice blue and green colors on the right is about sidewalks, side paths, which really is a multi-purpose path. And you'll see that it includes mainly Vance and Sandy Ridge Townships, Monroe as well, but really western Union County. Then you look at the one on the left, which is the CTP with all those orange ones. If they're dashed lines, it means they need improvement. If they're the solid line, like for example, 16 going up into Charlotte, that has sidewalks on it, so it doesn't need improvement anymore. That's why it's a solid line. But if it's a dashed line, it needs improvement. You'll see there's a lot of dashed lines in Union County, so we recommend sidewalks. These plans both cross over municipal jurisdictions. They don't pay any attention to boundaries. But the one on the left is endorsed by those jurisdictions. The one on the right, the county plan, was not. So they don't necessarily have any buy-in or ownership in that plan, but the CARPA one, they do. There isn't a whole lot of difference between the recommendations, but I think the process is what really matters, how that map is developed, and the fact that we're all participants in it. It reduces that criticism we get of the county didn't require something that we would have required, or they're not catching up on our borders and you know, respecting what our vision is. Well, if we're speaking from a plan that they're speaking to, it gives us something to respond to that criticism with. So I'll stop and see if you have any questions.
So does that mean, and I don't understand, you mentioned minor subdivision and.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What's the break-off?
Well, there's a couple ways that something can be a major versus a minor subdivision. It can be 8 lots or more, or it can be the installation of infrastructure, which means water, sewer, a road. So generally, bigger subdivisions are majors. 1 or 2 lots are minors, but not always.
So that would, the major then would include the sidewalk and the.
Well, not necessarily, because if you were out here in the northeastern part of the county, we would not require sidewalks along the frontage of any road, because you see there's no recommendations for sidewalks. As your Newtown Road, Cuthbertson, Waxhaw Indian Trail, roads like that, it would be a different response.
You know, can you explain to me the difference between a sidewalk and a side path?
Side path is a multi-purpose path. It's a really wide sidewalk. It's meant for bicycles and pedestrians. You
So
call it a.
it's only 207? 207?
That's right. That had a multi-purpose path all the way down to South Carolina.
That was our desire, or?
That was a plan that was adopted by Union County approximately a decade ago.
207 is meant to have a big wide thing.
According to the plan on the right, yes. If you,
This is going north does.
that's right. And if you and the Board of Commissioners take the,
I'm trying to figure that one out.
that's right. I personally feel that the plan from 10 years ago was a bit ambitious.
Okay,
And
clearly.
this one, the one on the left with the CTP, dials it back a bit. Not a lot, but some of these larger things, they go away.
Can't imagine, that jumped out at me, because I mean, like, okay, well, that was the big item.
I understand.
601 is, I would even see 601 south, maybe, but 207, good people. What in the world? Okay, that was 10 years ago?
This was 10 years ago, and we paid 6-figure consultant fees to come up with this report as well.
Pay 6 figures for the next one, and I won't go there, but yeah, that's interesting. Anybody, it's just, that.
We don't even pay 5 figures
No.
anymore.
So,
We're doing all our plans in-house now, so.
oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And, that's why I tell Lee Jensen is an amazing dude. So, but the one on the left side is all the little dotted lines. What's,
A dashed line means it needs improvement.
it needs improvement.
That's right. So that would be an instance that if you came with a
601
subdivision,
north needs improvement.
It does.
That makes sense, but 207 south doesn't.
That's right.
All right. Anybody? Any?
No, I had the same question. Good question.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I see that and I'm like, whoa.
Okay, but basically what we're doing is we're not gonna require stuff like sidewalks to be done, is that?
No, we are. It's just the mandate to require them still exists.
Right.
The question is, what map do you want the planning department to refer to when we make those requirements for sidewalks? The map on the right from Union County Multimodal Transportation Plan, or the one on the left coming from the CTP, the Comprehensive Transportation Plan?
And the recommendation is for the
That's correct. The orange one is the one.
I think
we're
obviously
recommending.
when a new development's built, y'all, they're putting sidewalks in.
Not all, but quite a few.
That's not.
We're essentially recommending that, right now, our ordinance refers to the map on the right. We're essentially suggesting you switch it to the map on the left, mainly because that map has been vetted by all the municipalities. There was a lot of participation that went into that. So we're all sort of speaking from the same book, if you will. The one on the right, although it was an ambitious plan done 10 years ago, not everybody bought into it.
But in other words, the North Carolina DOT is on board with the one on the left.
The orange one, correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so, that doesn't mean that a new development that shows up in Unionville, over that side of Unionville, is required to put sidewalks in, or?
If it's inside the town of Unionville, that's
That's their, I'm
that's
talking
them.
about, if you go out to, where Clancy is, somewhere out in the country, they're not required to put sidewalks in?
That's right. Now, along the frontage of the road, no inside the development.
But,
If the density is sufficiently high, then
Right.
yes, they would be required to do so, but just inside the development.
but they don't have to have one down the street.
No. And I would say generally, our RA40 subdivisions don't require sidewalks inside
Right.
the development either, because they don't meet our, what is it, Jim, R20?
Yes, 20,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, so R20 and lower require sidewalks internally, but
But,
your RA40 doesn't.
yeah,
Yes, so
if that happens, it's just because the developer will be not.
Yeah.
that's right.
Sorry. Okay, so what we're voting on tonight is to approve the plan on the left of our screen,
Well,
as opposed to.
you're actually, you're recommending these text changes, and what they are surgical swaps from the multimodal plan to the comprehensive transportation plan. So the red's,
Clean it up.
that, all we're doing is referencing that CTP, the orange plan versus the red and green plan.
Okay.
And that's why you see the red strike-throughs and the green additions.
Gotcha.
That's what it is.
All right.
And again, this is the rationale for the changes. I will note that we do have flexibility for requiring sidewalks in your schools, parks, and other similar destinations, even if they're not shown in the CPP. We do have a little bit of discretion.
School out in the middle of nowhere, y'all might say, hey, gotta have sidewalks.
That could be.
Right now, today, as we sit here, we don't know where they're gonna build the next school, and in the next 5 years, they might build a school somewhere, and you say, hey, right?
Correct.
You've got that power, but we're not.
And you
changing
have,
that.
and you have that power to approve a variance if they say, I don't like doing that.
Gotcha, yeah, exactly. So, all we're doing is just getting in line with what everybody sees is the way to go.
That's correct.
I think so.
And if it weren't for all these questions, we would have hit 7 PM.
You did so good, Bjorn. You really did.
Thank you.
But you're not gonna get a bonus because
No.
it's 7:08.
And so,
Sorry.
we printed out the, both chair and vice chair have copies of it. These are rationales. You have to give rationales for rezonings, text
We go
amendments
before the
considered
county
rezoning.
commissioners And for their approval.
And so this
we're doing.
gives you the justification that then is conveyed back to the
Right.
Board of Commissioners on the why you either said this is a good idea or why this is a bad idea.
I think you did a really good job, Bjorn, to tell them why it's a good idea, so, I'll entertain a motion unless somebody else has a question. Motion to approve, sir. I think. Motion motion to approve any,
I'll make a motion to approve this change.
so, yeah, I think you did that. You go second.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I'll second it then.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bjorn, you did a good, really good job, and you will,
Is it safe to assume I can reference the consistency statement on the justification for it?
yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Nobody told me we have to do a consistency statement, although that might be a good idea going forward. If y'all wanna do that, I'd be more than happy to make sure that happens. But anyway, yes, sir. You tell the
Okay.
county commissioners we love them, and,
We will do that.
anyway. Yeah, did I say that? Yeah, okay. Next item is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, board primary and alternate representations. I have conferred with Mr. Tilley, and he would like to be our representative there, and I have agreed to be his alternate. Anybody have a problem with that? Everybody, do we need to vote on that? We do. Motion to approve Mr. Tilley to be the dude in charge, and I will be his alternate if he can't be blessed to go to Charlotte.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May God be with our friend, Mr. Tilley.
Excellent, thank you.
Because you're gonna have to spend time with him. You know
Yeah,
that, right?
but Bjorn,
But
you'll get me the address and all to where,
I will communicate both of your contact information to Carpo, and now you'll be on their distro for
Oh, I'm
meetings.
so excited.
So you'll start getting emails with the agenda packets.
Any planning, Lee,
Um,
we need to have a report from you. It says right here, planning staff report, it says 30 minutes. so-
Since we're already over our 7 o'clock, I can take as long as I want to.
Yes, sir.
I'm just
You
kidding.
have plenty of time.
No, the only thing to report back is the board approved, they went ahead and approved that rezoning that you heard last month about the landscaping,
Okay, so
the learning center.
we did a good job.
Did a good job.
That's what I'm-
Yep.
Anytime we fail, let us know.
I will.
Thank you, sir. It's good to see you again. Those of us who worked with you 35 years ago. That's right. When we were in kindergarten. Brief comments. I'll start at the end with our friend, Mr. Bachman.
Comment? Everything's good, I'm happy.
All right. Go ahead. Next.
I'm having a ball.
You excited? Good to have you.
But I will not be here. A month from today, I will be arriving in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Half Bull Breakaway. I've been there one time. I'm scared to go back. But good trip. Yes, sir. No comments.
everything's good in my world.
I'm good.
I'm fine. I think the meeting went very well.
It's good to see you, man. We were worried about you for a minute. Glad, it took me a minute to get sworn in, and you had to come behind me, so.
I thought I was gonna make the last meeting.
All right, that's, I understand. It's been good, and so, with that, I have nothing to say other than that I feel like we have a great board, and I look forward to serving y'all, except for Clancy. And we're gonna kick him off soon, and, I believe. We'll see. Hallelujah. God is good. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
We are adjourned, and I'm gonna go home. And we're 11 minutes short for Bjorn getting a bonus. Sorry, Bjorn.
It's okay.
I tried, buddy.